Hey there friends, and thanks for joining me again, and this is part 2 in the seed starting series. This is going to build on the information that we learned in the number 1 video in the seed starting series, and I don't want to recap too much, but basically in part 1 it's the equipment that I use, why I choose what I do, and then the seed starting schedule itself, how I put it together, and how you can put yours together that's totally customized to your specific area and what you're planting, and just in general whether you're trying to go small with it or big or even really big and even sell some in a plant sale, how you would be able to do that successfully. So again, I don't want to recap too much, so this is just going to again build on that information. So here we are at about 4 weeks out from the average date of the last frost, and so we're to the next part where we have work to do. So there's going to be 2 things that we're going to want to do at this point in the process. The first one is going to be to start cool weather crops in pots. This is going to be if we wanted to do like succession planting, interplanting later on when we go to plant our warm weather crops, or even if you're going to sell them at a plant sale. So if you wanted to do any of those things, then you're going to want to start those now. But again, for a complete list of the types of plants that you're going to want to do, that would be in video number 1. So if you wanted to, go ahead and do those in the regular 6 packs like these. That's what I'm going to do anyway. And then the second part of it is to actually do some transplanting, and this is kind of the fun part, so let's go ahead and get started. We have these plants, so these are the ones that we started with you in the video number 1, and then this is what they look like now, or this is what they should look like now. As you can see, they're pretty tall, and they have their 2 new true leaves. So basically, let me see if I can just bring one out. Okay, so these are the baby leaves of the plant, and then these ones at the top are the actual true leaves. So these are the tomatoes, and then we can transplant these into the other pots. And I have some tips and tricks to make this easier, and also to make sure that the plants, have success. So let's go ahead and do that, and I'll show you how this works. Okay, so here we have our tray of tomatoes. And as you can see, they don't all grow evenly. Some of them are smaller, some of them are bigger, and actually I have a basil in there. I don't know what happened there, but maybe when we were starting the seeds they got mixed together. But anyway, so it's pretty self-explanatory when one is growing by itself. It's real easy. You take obviously the bigger squares that I explained in the first video. I'm going to use the stick to help get it out without having to actually yank on the plant itself, because you can actually do damage to the stem by doing it that way. I lay it on its side, and then that makes it to where I can bury the plant deeper. So I put it to the bottom of the square as best as I can, take my can with my potting soil here, and then I just fill around in the square and then gently firm it to hold it into place. So these squares are perfect for how much, root space they need, and while they look really small right now, here in just a few weeks they're going to grow and get a lot bigger, and then they'll really fill in. So the next thing I wanted to explain real quick is what you do when there's more than one in a pot. So when there's one, like I said, it's really easy, you just pop it in there. But if you have 2 stuck together, well, now what do? So some people would say, obviously the easy choice would be to just rip them apart, but that can actually do damage to the roots themselves. And since all of their roots are intertwined, half of this one's roots are on this side, half of that one's roots are on this side, because they're both mixing together in there. So the way that I have found that makes it easiest is just to shake off as much of the dirt as I can. And then here I actually have a tray that's filled with water. It doesn't have any holes or anything, so it holds the water. You don't have to use a tray. Any kind of a basin works fine. But I basically stick it in the water. And remember the chopstick I showed you in the first video? Well, we're using it again here. So I just kind of shake the roots, and then I gently shake the roots and pull apart the plants with the stick itself, really, really gently. In the water, it just makes it more easy to do this without actually doing damage. And so there you go. We have all of the roots taken apart. The leaves wanted to stay together there because they've been friends in the same pot. And so now you can see they both have a lot of roots on each plant, and none of the roots actually got torn off. So now we can stick one little plant in one tray and then another one in the other. So now they can all be separated and have all their own space, and then they can grow, separately. Because if you leave them together, they won't grow correctly, and they'll actually crowd each other out to where both of them aren't as, you know, fruitful. They won't grow as many tomatoes, etc. So it doesn't matter if there's 2 or if there's 3, or like this one, we definitely overplanted. There's actually 4 little, you know, tomato plants in this pot. I'm just going to do the same thing. Shake off the soil as best as I can, and then stick it in the water, and then just kind of gently shake them apart, and then gently again take them closer to where the stem is, and then actually separate the roots themselves so that the plants can come apart without doing damage to the plants. So I'm going to go ahead and continue to do that until this tray is, you know, all finished and all of these little tomatoes are transplanted in here. Okay, so here's what they look like, all the little baby plants in their much larger pots, and you'll be surprised how much they grow over the next month. So of course we want to keep these well watered and in a, you know, very well lit area. I'm going to go ahead and put them in my greenhouse in the sun and just take care of them for the next month until they get a lot bigger and they'll be ready. Okay, and so now once we have all the transplanting done, the next, you know, weeks are going to be weeks 2 to 3, so either next weekend or even the weekend after. You know, you're going to plant your fast-growing, like, vines, you know, basically the fast-growing warm weather crops. That's going to be like melons, cucumbers, winter and summer squashes and things like that in pots. And so that's where this third piece of equipment comes from. So far you've seen me sow in the 6-packs, and then obviously transplanting into the big squares, because that's the sort of size they need obviously for their root system. And then these small little square ones, these are perfect for the faster growing vines because they don't need a ton of space, and you can grow a lot of them really close together. But these also separate easily for the plant sale. So these are perfect. Plus they use less soil, so that helps, you know, increase efficiency. So there you go. The first video was, you know, all setting up and everything, you know, the equipment and everything else, putting together the schedule. This one was just keeping things on track and an update on how it should be looking, you know, and continuing it on. And then the next video is going to be the third and final video, and that's going to be where we're actually going to finish up everything. Everything's going to be ready to plant outside, and even the plant sale itself. So stay tuned for that. Thanks for joining me again. I'm Frugal Green Girl, and we'll see you next time. Bye.